Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Minnesota Stroke Program webinar series on stroke efforts in EMS. My name is Katherine Johnson, and I'm the EMS coordinator for the stroke team. So before we get started, please feel free to chat and send me any questions you have at any point during the webinar. I have my colleague Michelle helping out monitoring the chat. If you want to send a chat, you hover over the lower part of your screen, you'll see a bunch of menu items. There's a little chat bubble, third from the right. Click on that, make sure it says everyone, and then type in your question or comment and hit enter. Like I said, I have my colleague Michelle monitoring those, so she'll make sure that all of your questions get answered in a timely fashion. So let's get started. Our agenda for today is pretty simple. We're going to go over an introduction of myself and the state of EMS in general. We're going to go over some MDH sample protocols that we have, some tips on gathering information from EMS, pre-hospital performance measures that we're looking at here at MDH, and also some feedback projects we have going on at MDH. And at the very end, I'll have some resources for you guys, and feel free to provide them for EMS if they don't already have them. So a little bit of introduction, and if you're not muted, please feel free to press #6 and make sure you're muted. Star 6, and you'll be muted. So a little bit about myself. I am a paramedic by trade. I came to MDH as a paramedic. I've been in EMS for 18 years now. I started as a first responder and worked my way up to paramedic. I still have active license and still participate as much as I can. I also volunteer for the Minnesota EMS Honor Guard, which is a volunteer organization that coordinates funerals for those EMS providers killed in the line of duty. So I love EMS. My passion is rural EMS in particular. I spent most of my career working rural EMS, and I have a passion and a heart for that one in particular. So covering EMS in general in the state, for those that aren't aware, the state of Minnesota has divided up the state into 8 EMS regions. We have 1 metro region and 7 rural EMS regions. Each region is assigned a director or has a director that is responsible for assisting the agencies in their region with needs. They also serve as a representative for the needs of their area in particular. Some agencies or some areas and regions are larger than others, but all have a mix of ALS and BLS services. As you can see on this map, the blue dots are BLS services. The green dots are part-time ALS, where if they have a paramedic on the truck, they're ALS. Otherwise, they function as a BLS service. And then the red dots are ALS 24/7 services. Each region is funded by the EMSRB, along with other grants and seatbelt dollars. So that's how they get their funding. Several regions have training programs, but not all of them. And several regions have medical direction consortiums. Again, not all of them do, but some of them do. So if you don't know your EMS region, I encourage you to get to know it. And if you need to know who your contact is in your region, please feel free to contact me. I have all of their contact information, and they're wonderful people. All right, so when I started back in 2015 here at MDH, one of the things that we decided that we needed to focus on was creating sample protocols for EMS agencies. So if we wanted to make sure that they were following the latest guidelines, we created a sample EMS stroke protocol. This is available readily on our website. It's a very basic introduction to protocol. It's also, as you can see, that there's a note on the top. I know it might be hard to read, but this is a sample protocol. They have to follow what their medical director goes by. So, but this is just a kind of a guideline for them if they're looking to update their protocol. It addresses checking blood sugars, doing a pre-hospital stroke scale, documenting last known well time as a clock time. That's a big thing, as you guys know. Rapid transport, pre-notifying you guys, and oxygen recommendations along with IV and 12 lead if time allows. Like I said, this is a basic protocol. This is not for advanced, well, it is for advanced providers, but it's just basically what the minimums we hope that they are meeting at this point for stroke patient care. We also created a sample post-alteplase transfer protocol upon the request of a lot of hospitals. This one covers transporting a patient from your hospital or from another hospital to your hospital. Covers alteplase guidelines, oxygen guidelines, alteplase guidelines, oxygen guidelines, keeping patients NPO, vital signs guidelines. It also includes a neurologic tracking form. This was originally approved by our CSC PSC advisory group, and it's being updated currently to make sure that it's up to the latest standards and guidelines. The other thing that we created about 2 years ago now is an MDH stroke toolkit for EMS providers. So this is an actual bound one. It's also available on PDF. It's a toolkit for stroke, for EMS in particular. It provides them a lot of good insight as far as stroke systems of care, so it explains our stroke system in the state in general. It provides dispatch guidelines if they're looking for some dispatch help. EMS guidelines, including the protocol that you saw, the basic protocol. It does not include the transfer protocol. Quality improvement tools, community outreach ideas, and other resources for EMS. The QI section of it is very good as far as it is the PDSA example for doing quality improvement. You can also access it on the EMS tab of the MDH stroke page, and I'm going to go over how to get to that right now. So on our MDH stroke website, you'll see a tab over that says Emergency Medical Services and Stroke. If you click on that and scroll down to the bottom of the page, you'll find the EMS Every Second Counts Stroke Toolkit. There's a link on there that says the order form. If you click on that, fill out the information, I get an email, I go in, I provide you with that toolkit, and it's, like I said, it's aimed for EMS providers, but any other EMS nursing, ED would benefit from taking a look at it, at least to know what EMS is looking at as far as stroke care. So some tips on gathering information. This is one of the comments that we've heard in our webinar series on how to gather EMS information from EMS agencies. If there was one way that I say would be the gold star, I wish I could, but each EMS agency is different, so working with your EMS agency is huge. Some of the ideas that we've had in the past from other hospitals that we've gained on our site visits and on our on just talking with hospital providers is that a timeout where you take 10, 15 seconds for everybody to stop, listen to the report, and then move on, as long as there's obviously no life-threatening issues, is a really good idea so that everybody hears the same information at the same time. We've also heard of hospitals having a dry erase board where the EMS provider can go up and write that information, including last known well, vitals, blood sugar, stroke scales, and family contact information. That way everybody walking into the room has the same exact information. They have to just glance at the board. And then it also provides the EMS provider with not having to repeat the same information over and over again, and hopefully decreases the confusion on the last known well time. So it's written down in stone, well, not in stone, in dry erase. Other tips I've heard is some EMS providers actually carry a sheet with them that is provided by the hospital that has that exact same information that the dry erase board has, so they can write it on that information form, hand it to the nurse that's taking over patient care, and so at least they have that basic information if they can't get the run report right then and there. Another thing is providing a secure fax number if your crew can't stick around to give the run report, and that's not uncommon. A lot of crews will go back to their stations, write their run reports, and then hopefully get it to you guys. But if they have a secure fax number, that's a lot easier to get that information. And some of the agencies, most of the agencies in the state are going electronic medical records for, and they're encouraged to do that at the moment. And so providing even just a simple printer for your EMS agency to have a specific location to go off and print the run report and then come back and give it to you is one tip that's been very helpful for a lot of agencies. You just need to find out how they go about printing, what kind of docking they need to be able to print. But oftentimes it's that simple thing of they don't have a place to print that can be a limiting factor on getting you a run report. And then oftentimes some of the biggest ways that people have learned how to get the information is just to talk to the crews, find out what would be the easiest way for them to get you the information. The crews know a lot, the managers of the agencies know a lot, and what would make it easiest for their crews. So just having a simple, quick conversation. So once you've gathered all that information, one of the things that we're encouraging is that you put it into the portal when you're documenting, when you're abstracting your stroke cases. As you can see on here, I have a screenshot of just a generic case, and under the evaluation tab, you have how does that patient arrive at hospital. And when you click on the EMS from home or scene, all this information pops up. It's pretty quick information that you already have and are already trying to gain from your narrative or from your agencies. It's arrival mode, EMS agency, their incident number, whether they gave you advance notification or not, stroke screen if they did that, and what their blood sugar was if they did one. So that information helps us a great deal, as well as it can help you when you're abstracting information to find out from what agencies are giving you information and what maybe you need to work with other agencies that are nearby that transport patients to you. And if you're looking for that information, I have what we call it the MinStar report. It's the EMSRB, our regulatory agency. This is their generic report. A lot of small town agencies still use this paper form, and most of this information can be found if they're doing electronic in some form or another. But you're looking for the agency name, which up on this is in the top left corner. The incident number, which is in the top right corner. Not the call number, the incident number. That's usually unique. That is unique to each call. And then if you're looking for things like this in procedures, in narrative, in one of those two locations on the run report, you're going to find where if they documented they did a stroke screen, hopefully they'll document if they pre-notified, and then hopefully they've documented if they've done a blood sugar level. We really encourage them, and we're starting to really push that they document their blood sugar levels and their stroke screen in the procedures section of their run report, not in the narrative. I know that's been a common, a common location has been in the narrative because it's a free write, free text area, but we're really encouraging them to put it into the stroke screen, into the procedures section, because then we can, when we have the EMS data, we can secure that information more easily than having to look through the narrative, and so can you guys. So looking through that, if you need help with your agency's run reports, again, feel free to contact us. We're more than happy to help you find where those information is located. So with all that information, we are looking quite a bit at pre-hospital performance. And some of the things that we're doing to help agencies look at their pre-hospital performance is we created a time-critical response initiative. And it's a free initiative for EMS agencies to join. We asked them to send us a copy of their protocol along with this very simple one-page form, just kind of making sure that we have the correct ambulance manager, their correct mailing address, if they're managing more than one service, which is not uncommon, which agencies do they manage, who their medical director is, which is sometimes harder to find out than you might think, and if they have protocols online, otherwise they can send us their protocols. And initially we sent out a large mailing with a return envelope. We followed up by an email invitation and another mailing. And our whole goal with this is to monitor what agencies are doing as far as stroke protocol goes, to provide them assistance if they need it as far as stroke protocols, and just to be a contact point information if they need it. So after I receive their protocols and their registration form, I then go back and log their information on our tracking form, and then we evaluate their protocol based on that basic protocol that you were shown earlier. Do they have a stroke screen? Do they do a blood sugar check? Do they write down in their protocol to notify the hospital? What's their time window for stroke notification? Are they required to document a last known well time? And do they provide oxygen at what oxygen saturation level? So I provide them roughly a 2-page feedback form. I provide them resources like the toolkit, obviously my contact information, and then I try and provide follow-up as much as I can to the agencies to see if they need any more help. And again, as you see down in this bottom right, it says you must follow your medical director's guidelines, because they are their ultimate say on what these agencies do and don't do. We've provided feedback to 88 agencies so far. We have roughly 250 in the state, so I'm obviously always looking for more agencies to join. And our ultimate goal is to help provide a two-way street of communication for at least stroke protocols and stroke information. as well as a touch point in MDH for them if they have any other questions. So if you are associated with an ambulance service, I encourage you to find out if they've become a part of the initiative. Again, it's free. It doesn't cost them anything. It's the time of making a photocopy and sending it in or emailing it in. That works too. So other EMS data that we monitor through the portal when you guys enter information, and the EMS data that we're looking at that we have access to at given points in time, we're really encouraging them to have an on-scene time with less than 15 minutes of patient arrival. That's different than on-scene arrival, and we really encourage that because if anybody's been on an ambulance, it's not necessarily from the time you pull up. It may take you another 5 minutes to actually get to where that patient's at. So we really encourage that once they get there, they immediately start doing an assessment, realize it's a stroke, and then speed up the time to get off scene. Want them to do a stroke scale as soon as possible, a blood sugar level, and make sure it's documented along with the last known well time documented. That's obviously essential, and obviously as much as we can pre-notification of the hospitals so that they can get to where they're going and get things going quickly as possible. The other thing that we have going in the state, which is really encouraging and it's really starting to take off, is roughly 2 years ago we provided the 7 rural regions in that map that I showed you. We provided them with a high fidelity simulation mannequin. It's called the SimMan ALS. It's a completely wireless system. The mannequin, the iPad that controls the mannequin is completely wireless. And they were all given 1 mannequin per region. They were given to the EMS directors of the region to provide EMS education in simulation for EMS providers that wouldn't ordinarily be able to afford this mannequin. It's meant as a resource for the region itself, and the regions are making excellent use of them. They were trained, as many educators as possible were trained through a contract that we had with Health Partners Simulation. They went out to the regions and did training and then did an online training. So there was a set of 3 trainings that they were provided throughout a year and a half process. And the goal was to provide the opportunity of simulation, like I said, that hadn't been able to be available before. So a lot of these regions are using them on a loaner basis, where an agency can check out the mannequin from the region, use it for a period of 2 to 3 weeks, and then return the mannequin. So my ultimate goal for these mannequins is that they be used for a full scene all the way to hospital scenario. So if you guys are interested in it, please feel free to contact me. I can get you in contact with the regional representative, or you can contact your EMS agency and ask them about it. And if we can get goals of setting up a scenario that starts on the EMS scene and proceeds all the way to the hospital and through a stroke code process, that would make me happy. I love it. I love the idea. So how can you help? Like I said, contact your agencies about the simulation mannequin. Otherwise, encourage your EMS representatives to come to your stroke committee meetings. It may not be the manager itself. It may be their training officer. That would be a huge advantage for the agencies. They love to know what happens on these cases. They often don't find out what happens to their patients. So the more that they can find out what happens, the more that encourages their learning and their wanting to improve their process. So the more you can involve them, the better. You may not get them all the time, again, because EMS is, as you know, comes and goes as far as calls go, but encourage them to come. The other thing you can do is enter EMS information in your abstracting, either through the stroke portal or Get With the Guidelines. Get With the Guidelines has an EMS tab as well with, I think, a lot more detailed information, but at least this basic stuff would be spectacular. If you're struggling to get run reports, talk to your agencies. Just talk to them and find out what's the easiest way to get run reports. Is it a secure fax number? Is it a Dropbox that's a specific location? Is it once a week you get the run reports that you're missing from the manager? Just talk to them, figure out what's going to work best for them and best for you guys. Encourage your agencies to participate in the Time Critical Response Initiative. We're providing we're trying to provide as much education as possible to them, much feedback on their stroke protocol as possible. And then that's something they can take to their medical directors and say, this is what the MDH is recommending. What are your thoughts on it? So, and then provide feedback to your agencies about your stroke patients if capacity permits. If you can go to their their monthly meetings. Oftentimes they'll have a monthly or a bi-monthly meeting that they do training on, providing feedback that way, providing feedback in a written form through a secure email or a secure mail that is, patient de-identified. But like I said, the more information and feedback you can participate and give them, the more they want to learn. They're anxious to learn. They want to know if they did what was right. They want to know, if they should have thought something else, or if it wound up being something else, if it wound up being something completely off the wall. They want to know that too. So a few other things that we're doing here at MDH as far as feedback projects go, speaking of feedback. The Office of Rural Health is currently in its second year in a feedback project. This is with the Greater Northwest region and the Southwest EMS region. So it's being managed by Stratus Health, and it's working with large tertiary hospitals, Sioux Falls, Fargo, Grand Forks, those kind of areas, to provide feedback to the hospitals and to the EMS agencies in the region. But this isn't just stroke feedback. They're providing feedback on stroke, STEMI, trauma, cardiac arrest. And so they're learning the processes and the stumbling blocks that take to get a feedback project going. So they've learned, how to send a secure email to a Gmail address, which was one of the stumbling blocks. How to request feedback on the EMS side to the larger hospitals if they haven't heard back from them. How long it takes them to get EMS feedback. So it's they're learning a lot from that stumbling blocks, and we're hoping to pass that on to other agencies once the project is finalized. Another stroke feedback project we're going to be starting on the stroke side, specifically stroke focused, is going to be led by Nikki Anderson, our stroke system nurse specialist. I'm sure all of you know Nikki. She's going to be working with interested hospitals. She did a survey back a few months ago and on their feedback mechanism to EMS. And those that expressed interest, she's going to be hopefully contacting. We're going to start with a small group first, and then we're going to be working with the EMS agency that is their main transporter and hopefully setting up a good feedback mechanism. And that's going to be starting pretty soon. So keep an eye on that if you're interested. And finally, just some quick resources. We have the Every Second Counts EMS Stroke Toolkit, like I showed you earlier. The other thing that we have that's an awesome resource is we've started creating e-learning, online learning that's free. It's awesome. Yeah, if you go to mn.elogiclearning.com, you can also Google the MDH Learning Center. I want to say I just did it this afternoon. It was the 5th one down when you Google it. So we have 2 courses up there currently. We have the Acute Stroke Treatment Refresher course. That one is specifically EMS focused. It is a longer course. We're looking at, in the coming months, dividing it out into short, bite-sized segments. The other one we have is, and that's narrated by me. They get to listen to me. But the other one that we have is called So Easy to Miss, Catching the Subtle Stroke. That one is presented by our subject matter expert, Joni Soames, and it's an awesome training, and it's about catching those subtle strokes that you may miss based on disability and that type of thing. Also, feel free to contact me or Nikki if you have any interest in the simulation mannequins. I can get you in contact with the regional representative in the area, and they can help set up a coordination between you and your agency. I can also let you know who your manager is in your agency if I have the contact information too. And they should know about the program. The Learning Center itself, like I said, if you Google it, it's like the 5th option down. Otherwise, there's a link in our website. You can go to the Learning Center. You go up to the bottom or the upper right-hand corner. It says Register Now. You click on that. You fill out the information. It's very basic information, and you hit Submit, and you have an account created. And if you go up to the right-hand side, you'll see a little looking glass search engine component. That's my recommendation. Is you go up there, type in stroke, and hit Enter. There's a lot of other courses on there. Some of them are really good. Some of them are maybe applicable to you as well, that are often free. Those are provided by Healthcare Homes. So if you're Healthcare Homes, that's another option too. But if you type in stroke, what you'll get is the Acute Stroke Treatment Refresher course and the So Easy to Miss, Catching the Subtle Stroke. You just hit that register in the bottom right-hand corner, and it'll take you on to launching the course and playing the course. All of them are audio narrated by by either myself or Joni. We're going to have another one coming up in the next few months, hopefully by the end of the year or beginning of the new year, on more stroke. And we hope to provide at least 1 to 2 a year for sure. So look forward to those. And if you have any topic ideas, feel free to let us know too. We're always interested in those. So I'm going to take this time for any questions. I don't know if we have any. Feel free to type them in.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much, Catherine. We don't have any questions through chat, but if you'd like to ask a question to Catherine, we do have 5 minutes. You can just press *6 to unmute your lines and ask your question.
So just so you guys know that next month's WebEx login is going to be different. They've done a massive upgrade to WebEx, and so we are going to be sending you guys it'll be different logins. So please pay attention to your emails for November and December, and the dates will also be different as well.
Yeah,
so
that's correct.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Well, we'll hang on the line here for just a couple more minutes in case there are any questions. You can also send them through the chat feature. Otherwise, it's always nice to get on with your day. So thank you so much for joining us today. And as Catherine mentioned, please stay tuned to the November and December calendar invite emails regarding those stroke program webinars. And you'll also receive a follow-up email after today's webinar and after every webinar with PowerPoint slides and other resources that are related to today's topic.
Yeah, you'll get my PowerPoint slides in that email. So, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me or Nikki or Michelle. Any of us will be happy to consult with each other or find out the information from each other on what your question is. We're happy to help anytime. So, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.